Hello everyone, Mixfant Gaming here. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be here in Mech Arena and we're going to be talking about the new and upcoming balance changes for the weapons, the mechs, and I'm going to do my best to actually play this game here. We have real players on both sides and I'm not going to be able probably to concentrate, but that's okay. I don't really care. I just want to address kind of the situation that is out in the community right now. There's still not a lot unknown. I know Escape 211 has recently put a video kind of showing a spreadsheet that's out there. I think it was Gangster Jobs that actually did the time and the effort into putting it together. I was actually going to use the spreadsheet that was publicly available, but I noticed that it seems like he's doing modifications to it right now, so not all the values are in there. But so what is the actual team trying to do over at Mech Arena? And it's clear that it's kind of a, let's see if we get this guy over there. Nice. It's clear they're obviously trying to monetize this even more. Let's be perfectly honest. Let's just kind of state it how it is. It's a business. We all understand that. We might not like it, but it is what it is. Now the situation is that everybody was kind of just kind of wait and see, just to see how things were going to appear and come out. We were all hopeful that this rebalance was going to be a true rebalance and maybe kind of bring things a little bit back more in line. Nobody wanted to see any nerfs, of course, by any means. But what they've done is they've actually gone way too far. They're trying to make legendary items truly legendary, and I'm okay with that. You have things like the carbines that really don't do anything right now. Their EM rifles will reign supreme, and if the numbers remain as they are, EM rifles are going to still remain supreme. It looks like a lot of the legendary weapons, especially the EM rifles, are getting with the pilot skills, etc., are getting like a 300% increase. And it's pretty insane. I understand wanting to maybe bump the HP of the mechs up because they need it with things like EM rifles being able to one-shot kill just about everything in the game. But then if you're, for instance, updating like a mech's HP by like 50%, but then you're turning around and putting EM rifles up like 300%, well, it's not going to change the state of the game. And it's pretty sad state, to be perfectly honest. I know, I've heard anyways that the content creators over there in the program are actively trying to push back on some of this stuff, which is great to see. And it sounds like the dev team is actually listening a little bit. I don't know to what extent, but I am fearful that if they push it too far, then you're definitely going to have like free-to-play players that are going to want to maybe leave the game. Those who are whales already have things like the legendary mechs and weapons maxed out. Well, they're not going to care. They've already invested time, etc. in the game. They've already invested heavily into those weapons, as well as the nice shot there, as well as the mechs that go along with them. And they're always getting the newer items, and the newer items are always going to be the ones that are more powerful, more in demand, more meta. But I was kind of hoping that things would be balanced a little bit more. We're looking at commons and rares, and they're changing some of the structure there in terms of rarity. And it's just what they're actually opening things up to now is all you're going to be able to essentially run in order to be successful in this game is legendary items, mechs and weapons, and possibly some of the epic ones. But really the rares and the commons are going to be relegated back to like the beginner, the kind of more training, if you want to put it that way, the lower leagues. And that's unfortunate. I really didn't do anything in that game. That was my team. All my teammates win on that one. And from what I see from kind of what they've done already with the Panther, Puma, as well as the kill shot, slingshot, is they're setting things up now that most classes of mechs and weapons will have probably in the long run, a common, uncommon, rare, epic, and legendary version. So we already have, the uncommon Puma with now the epic Panther, and similarly the uncommon Slingshot with the epic kill shot. I could actually foresee in the future, for instance, there would be a legendary version of the kill shot, maybe called Dead Shot or something along those lines. And similarly, I think that's where they're kind of going with things. And as you start opening it up and you're doing those kind of rarity differences, you got to distinguish between each individual rarity class. And I understand that, and I really don't mind that per se. But if you're getting a situation where the legendaries are just so much more, powerful or enhanced or better than the previous versions, to me, you should still be able to at least somewhat compete with, at least I would say, the rares. But on paper, from what they're kind of showing, the common, uncommon, and rares weapons and mechs are going to be almost pretty much useless if you're up in Division 1 or even a little bit lower divisions. Once you start getting the epics and the legendary versions, it's just, it's good. It's going to be, let's just be honest, it's going to be a bit of a shit show. I want to try to be positive at this game. I'm trying to change my outlook, and some of my videos got a little bit more ranty than I would like in the past. But this, and I watched Escapes 211's video on this a little while ago, and he was right. It just reminds me way too much of Pilots. Pilots, when they came out, it was a good theory, although a lot of us from More Robots didn't want to see Pilots at all, and I still don't want to see Pilots, mind you. But the fact that they included implants that were just so much overpowered that it's, if you don't have legendary implants, then you're pretty much screwed once you get in more of the top tier gameplay. I'm talking about trying to be the most competitive, like 1% in the game type thing. But the way they're going here right now, if things stay with kind of how they've been proposed, and you're looking at over a 300% increase on damage for some weapons like the EM rifles that don't need it at all. And I see it looks like rocket mortars are going to be in that rare category that get also buffed a little bit. Rocket mortars don't need to be buffed. Like, come on, like, if you're going to do a weapon rebalance and a mech rebalance, then do it right. Like, put things a little bit more in line with the player base and adding back into the game's strategy. That's just what I miss from this game. You have a weapon in EM rifles. I'm going to keep talking about EM rifles because there are people out there in the game that are running EM rifles 10s, 12s, and 16s in their hangar. Now, I think I even saw one had 4 mechs. I think they run EM 8s or 6s. I can't remember what versions. I think EM have all different versions. But the EM rifles class is just so good that even at lower levels with the right implants, you can almost one-shot anything in the game. So that to me is not balanced, and yet they seem to be getting a huge bump in damage because they are a legendary. So in other words, they're doing the upgrade on the classes and not the individual items, and that's a danger. And unfortunately, what's going to happen is you're going to get probably half the community that's going to be ticked off, and whether they leave or not, who knows. We always had this conversation over at War Robots that the community was going to get upset and mass people were going to leave. Well, that never really happened or materialized. I think people eventually just accept it and move on. I hate to say that. I would really like to see this weapon and mech rebalance done the right way. To me, this is not the right way. You have the whales out there that are going to buy regardless. It doesn't matter what you do. Whether you nerf the stuff or you buff the stuff, they're still going to buy and max out everything that they can. And then you're probably going to get another like 30% or so that is kind of more where I am. I'm Division 1. I used to spend some money in the game. I've stopped spending money now. I as you can see, I am sitting on quite a lot of A coins and credits just because I don't really know what to put in. My hangar is not maxed by any means. All my mechs in this current hangar are maxed, but none of the weapons are. And honestly, going forward with this whole rebalance, I'm not putting any resources into any of my mechs or weapons because I don't know what's going to happen. And, I still have lots of pilots and implants that I don't have. I don't even have one single implant that's even maxed out on my current hangar. But it's just not the right way to do this. If you want to do a true rebalance, then you have to look at each individual item on its own and not be upgrading the sections, not upgrading all rares the same way or upgrading all legendaries. Yes, there's the one-offs that are out there. Like, for instance, Stalker, I believe, in the list, didn't get as much of an HP buff as the other epic mechs. Yeah, I think Stalker's epic. Let me just look here. Mech. Is oh no, he's rare. Okay, well, is he rare? Is he going to be maybe put up to an epic? I don't know. I thought I saw the spreadsheet that had Stalker at the epic level, but I'm not sure. Anyways, no, it's. I wish I could show you the spreadsheet. I really wanted to, but as I said, it looks like the individual who made it. I opened it up and there's the calculations were off, so it looked like maybe they're doing some further modification and adjustment to it, because I do know that those numbers are in flux and they are not set in stone yet, and I know the team is working on adjusting them in the test server, I believe. So we will see what comes out of this. I am unfortunately a little bit disappointed to see where things are currently right now. I don't think the devs are going to adjust it enough to appease most of us, at least the ones that are putting in cautionary videos. I was afraid something like this was going to happen. Whenever you see a statement from a company, that's making a game and says they're going to do a weapon and mech or just a rebalance in general, like an overhaul, it's almost never good for the community. The only ones they're ever good for are basically the players who spend religiously in the game. It's never good for the free to play. It's never good for the casual spender. And I really feel this is probably going to be the situation here. I hope I am wrong. I'll be willing to be the first to admit and praise Plarium if I wake up during the next update and we find out that the numbers are nowhere near as what has been kind of shown in spreadsheets right now. I'd be thankful to them, but I really don't expect that to happen just because of the history Plarium has had with the way they went from beta into global, and then they started messing around with A-coin values of being able to purchase things, using them as a test in the live server where certain players had access to get things at one A-coin value, and the rest of the community didn't. And you never ever test in a global live gameplay. You're just basically alienating your player base. And then moving forward, they introduced pilots, of course, but it's so overpowered, and it's almost impossible to compete with it, the right pilots and implants. And now they're doing this overhaul of the mech rarities and increasing the HP values, which of course they need. I think given the level of weapons and power that is in the game, a lot of the mechs really do need HP increases. But then why are you turning around and buffing the weapons even more than what you are with the HP of the mechs? That makes absolutely no sense. HP for mechs, yes. Increase for the weapon power, no, not needed at all. And it really is unfortunate the way things are, but it is what it is, and we're going to basically have to live with it, I suppose. The only other thing I wanted to mention is I saw on that list, Redox, of course, is a legendary mech, and I was hoping that it would get some kind of a buff or a change or a rework in order to make it legendary, because they did say that they want legendary items to feel legendary. And Redox had a really crappy HP pool. Even with the increase in HP it's going to get as being legendary, it's not going to be near enough. I think if you looked at the spreadsheet, I believe like the Ares and stuff, which is still at a rare level, had more HP than the legendary Redox did. The ability on the Redox is basically just trash, unless you get really up close and personal with it. I think it is getting a little bit of a buff increase to the damage on its ability. But again, most people, if they're running Redox, are going to be sitting in the back running rocket motors. That's usually what people do with the Redox. They really need to do an overhaul, kind of like the way they did with Surge, in order to make Redox much more viable. You know what? Other thing about Redox, that thing is so bloody slow. I was using it for a specialization spree, and I couldn't wait to get it out of my hangar. It was just way too slow. Anyways, what are your thoughts on this mech upgrade, weapon upgrade thing? We're going to have to wait and see to see what the numbers truly are. But as of this point in time, I'm really disappointed with the values. I'm seeing some of the videos that are coming out. And I really hope that this time around Plarium starts listening, not just the community, but also to the content creators behind the scenes. Because I know when I was part of the content creator program, we were all trying to push back against changes that we thought were going to be detrimental to the community. And I will tell you 100% certainty, I know the same is going on right now, that the content creators are pushing back as much as they possibly can in order to make this game a little bit more fair for everybody involved. Anyways, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing. Until next time, cause some ham in the field for me.